Good evening. It is October the 6th at 7 p.m. and this is the Bel Air Board of Town Commissioners Town Hall meeting. I'm going to call the roll. Commissioner Rutledge.
Here.
Commissioner Chismar.
Here.
Commissioner Taylor.
Here.
And Commissioner Chance.
Here.
All right, if you would all please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, first on our agenda is the approval of the agenda. May I have a motion?
Yes, Madam Chair, I'd like to move that the agenda for this evening, October 6th, 2025, 7 p.m. of the Bel Air Town Commissioners be approved as presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Chance. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Taylor. Any discussion of this evening's agenda? All right, Mr. Krantz?
Thank you, Madam Chair, for approval of this evening's agenda. October 6, 2025, Commissioner Rutledge.
Aye.
Commissioner Chismar.
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor.
Aye.
Commissioner Chance.
Aye.
And Chair Edding.
Aye.
Tonight's agenda is approved. Thank you.
All right, next is the approval of the minutes. May I have a motion?
Yes, Madam Chair. I move that the minutes of the Board of Commissioners meetings held on September 9th, 2025, excuse me, and September 15th, 2025 be approved as submitted, including minutes for the following meetings. September 9th, 2025, Commissioners' Work Session Open Meeting, September 9th, 2025, Commissioners' Work Session Closed Meeting, and September 15th, 2025, Commissioners' Town Hall Meeting.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Rutledge. Any discussion of the minutes this evening? All right, Mr. Krantz?
Thank you, Madam Chair, for approval of the minutes on September 9th and September 15th, 2025. Commissioner Rutledge.
Aye.
Commissioner Chismar.
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor.
Aye.
Commissioner Chance.
Aye.
And Chair Edding.
Aye.
Minutes are approved. Thank you.
All right, next is the presentation of the Certificate of Appreciation to Mr. Wayne Merkel, honoring his 33 years of service to the Tree Committee. Wayne, if you'll step to the podium with me. You do get a turn to make some remarks, so come on up. And I need Mike, the chair of the Tree Committee. All right, so I'm going to start. Mr. Merkel, before I read the presentation, my first experience with you was actually on a tree of my own. You had come to the house and inquired, knocked on the door very politely, and asked if you could look at the tree in the backyard that actually belongs to the town. It is a huge black walnut tree,
Right.
and it is magnificent. So thank you so much for all you've done for all of us here in the town with taking good care of our trees, making sure that they're measured and marked, and we've had a number of champion trees in town that I know you have been involved with. So thank you for that. 33 years is quite a long time. So we appreciate all your years of service. We really couldn't be anything in town without all the volunteers that we've had, and you've certainly been a very important one. So without further ado, I'm going to present this Certificate of Appreciation to Wayne Merkel. Whereas Wayne Merkel has spent decades serving the town of Bel Air and the state of Maryland, both as an appointed official and through professional and community organizations, including as founding member of the Town of Bel Air Tree Committee. And whereas Mr. Merkel worked for the Maryland Department of Natural Resources Forest Service for 40 years, from 1978 to 2018, and was an invaluable resource as a regional forester overseeing Baltimore, Carroll, Cecil, Harford, Howard, and Montgomery counties. And whereas Mr. Merkel was one of the founding members of the Town Tree Committee over 30 years ago in 1992, and participated in the first Tree Committee meeting on February the 20th, 1992. He also served as the treasurer of the American Tree Farm System, a program dedicated to helping Maryland woodland owners sustainably manage their properties for wood, water, wildlife, and recreation. And whereas Mr. Merkel has dedicated countless years to serving the town, offering his vast expertise on urban and traditional forestry, he is responsible for hundreds of acres of tree plantings within Harford County and the town of Bel Air. Now, therefore, we, the Bel Air Board of Town Commissioners, do hereby recognize and thank Wayne Merkel for his decades of community service. It is an honor to recognize one of the many influential people who have made the town of Bel Air such a great place to live, work, and play. So congratulations, and you're not really going too far because we know where you live. We have your phone number and your email address, so you might be hearing from us in the future.
Thank you.
And now, Mike, podium is yours.
Thank you, Paula. Known Wayne a long time, and he's done a lot for the town and for the state. Not only with the tree committee, also with the Hartford Forestry Board. We appreciate everything that you've done for us, and appreciation for everything you've done on behalf of the town of Bel Air and the tree committee. We have a gift for you.
Yes, let me take this out of the way so we can get a good photograph. Now, if my fellow commissioners will join me, I think maybe Wayne should hold that and one of us should hold the proclamation. Or maybe, however you would like to do it. Come on up.
Never mind.
How fitting.
One more day at the right backdrop.
Absolutely. All tree committee members that are here. Mike? Marion? Up you go. Step out so we can have a committee meeting.
Absolutely, please, you're more than welcome.
Wayne, do you have any comments?
Yes, I would just like to say that all the work we did in the town of Bel Air would not have been possible without the dedication, support, and help from the town of Bel Air Planning Department, the director, the planners, and especially Kathy Pierce, who organized all the meetings. So, thanks, everyone. Deeply appreciated.
Thank you.
There is snacks and refreshments in the community room for anybody from the tree committee who wants to attend.
There you go. All right, next on our agenda is the public input session for the Neighborhood Traffic Management Program proposed speed hump for the 500 block of East Broadway. A number of folks have signed up in advance, one of which was Ms. Carrie Lynn Lowry, and she is going first, and she is here with a very young attendee. new citizen.
All right, do you want to let me know when to go? Okay. Should I just go? Okay. Today is exactly 2 years to the day since the town sent us.
I hate to interrupt you, but you need to state your name and your address for the
I thought
record.
you announced me, I'm sorry. My name is Carrie Lynn Lowry, and I live on the 500 block of East Broadway, 503. Good? Okay. Today is exactly 2 years to the day since the town sent us the promissory letter and petition for the speed hump on the 500 block of East Broadway. 2 years of pouring our time and energy into this town's longstanding NTMP process. After examining nearly 1,000 pages of town records, what I have uncovered is not just disappointing, it's disgraceful. A safety project that was studied, advanced, planned, funded, and guaranteed was suddenly, deceptively, yanked away at the very edge of installation. This is not a mistake, this is a betrayal. I am here tonight to say I will not allow my children and my neighbors to be collateral damage to toxic politics, systemic inadequacies, unethical dealings, self-serving biases, and abuses of process. Let's discuss why town officials, the very experts the commissioners and residents rely on for nearly every operational and safety decision, concluded that our block qualified for at least one speed hump. Some commissioners are hiding behind the 85th percentile to make things sound safe, but on our street, where volume alone is dangerous, that 15% of excessive speeders means hundreds of drivers per day tearing down our block. In the town's October 2023 study, 7,134 cars were recorded in less than 5 days. Of those, 1,460 at 31 miles per hour or faster, 1 every 5 minutes, more than 100,000 unsafe drivers per year. And increasing speeds mean longer stopping distances, particularly concerning on a block where the hill limits visibility in the middle and an intersection sits beyond it. An intersection constantly used by residents with dogs, seniors exercising, school children walking, and where middle and high schoolers stand to wait for the bus, meaning drivers often cannot stop until it's too late. Even more disturbing, these drivers have little to no chance of halting for an unpredictable situation, a child stepping off the curb, an unanticipated bicyclist. And with the societal epidemic of distracted driving, our little block faces a storm of steel and speed that no paint nor sign can stop. This is not a matter of if, but when. All the data and tools for prevention are in your hands. There is no justification for waiting until tragedy to intervene. This town made a written promise, funded and designed it, then secretly rescinded it in an arbitrary fashion. A vote no today means you are willfully ignoring the documented dangers, breaking your established process, revoking the finalized solution, and breaching the commitments this town very clearly made in writing, on record, and to its residents. And if you make that choice, understand this: we will not accept it, and we will not walk away, because we're not here for a proposal. We're here for a promise, and the dangers are still present. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lowry. Our next speaker is Pamela Park.
Good evening.
Good evening. And Ms. Park, if you could just state your name and address for the
Yes.
record as well.
My name is Pamela Park. I live at 511 East Broadway, and I am opposed to the speed hump. In July, I received an email from the same town employee who made an alleged promise to the opposition stating there will be no speed hump on Broadway at this time. We're going to use alternative traffic calming in the form of pavement graphics, most likely the word slow, to alert motorists. For now, there will be no speed hump, end of quote. So we believed him. It seems that there was more than one promise that was broken. When questioned about the petition circulating, and he responded, quote, the resident who requested the device was requested to query the neighbors and ascertain their opinion. Right now, the purpose is only to determine whether the residents are in favor of or opposed to the speed hump on Broadway. So we believed him. As you can see, neither of them were true. The day they paved the road, I looked up on the town website and saw an approved plan that had a large STOP painted at the bottom of the street. So we believe that was what to be done. That was the approved plan. I called Public Works and was told instead that day that a speed hump was being put in across from my house without any notification to the affected residents. Needless to say, I was very upset. Luckily, Ms. Eading was able to stop it from proceeding. I do have a letter from Mr. Small to Denise in response to her request that the speed bump be placed specifically in front of 511, which is my house, 513, which is Jeannie's house, or 515, which is Ann Grafton's house. I find it very curious a resident would request it only to be installed across from the houses of those who were opposing her. The letter circulating with the petition had numerous falsehoods, one being the police officers and town officials felt it was vital to have a speed hump placed for the safety of our pedestrians and children. Actually, our children do not play in the streets, and I have never heard a resident say they were in fear of their safety. And the police have nothing to do with the speed hump. In reality, not one speeding ticket has been given out in the area in question in the last few years. There has never been anyone hit by a car, nor has there ever been an accident. 85% of the vehicles are going 31 miles per hour or less. Why waste the taxpayers' money? Contrary to the petition letter, it is not free. Why increase air pollution, noise pollution, and slow down emergency vehicles' response by 10 seconds for a non-existent problem? When you vote, please remember this is not about the four-way stop or an increase in town traffic. It is about one speed hump on a road where 85% of the people are currently driving 31 miles per hour or less. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Park. Our next speaker will be Denise Sennett. And Ms. Sennett, if you could likewise state your name and address for the
Sure.
record.
Denise Sennett, 505 East Broadway. After hours of work, it truly is disheartening to have the speed hump canceled without notification. What has happened since has also been wrong. 19% outweighs the wishes of 81%. The 500 block qualified for the speed hump using the guidelines on page 2 of the NTMP guide, which has been used for 25 years. The score in the traffic study, other factors, we have speed humps leading up to us, which is a factor, volume, speed, and cut-through traffic. We have all 4 of those other factors. To be followed up by 66% of the houses in agreement. We had 81%. The October 6, 2023 promissory letter from the town administrator, the first communication we had with the town beyond our initial request with the police department to request the study, told us we qualified for level 2, at least one speed hump would be placed. The police determined that that speed hump would go between 511 and 515, not at my request. We had 81% agreed. We needed intervention, and they thanked us for continuing, and they are continuing to thank us for pushing for the speed hump. 3 houses, only 17 houses out of 20 wanted the speed hump. By November 15th, 2023, I met with Mr. Small, turned in our petition showing 81%. He told me the project was being sent on to DPW for drawings and inclusion, and that he had already heard from 3 dissenters. I questioned him, can they stop this? He said no, but he might move the speed hump. I had no input on speed hump placement. The qualification that happened in the October 6th letter wasn't a mistake. It was not an appeasement approval, as has been suggested. It was an approval given by the department heads, the experts in our town who take care of traffic. The question tonight is, when is the town going to install the speed hump and minimize the risk that was identified over 2 years ago? I followed along with DPW as this process went on, talked with Kevin Small. For 2 years, I checked in. The question over the past 3 months has been, why did the project get stopped, pulled from the contract, even though it was already funded, according to an email on July 8th between Commissioner Rutledge and the town administrator. On July 9th, the town administrator returned my message of July 8th and told me that he had stopped it because he forgot he had approved it, not because people complained, which turns out is why it was pulled. He also suggested that I misunderstood the level of intervention. He said he intended to use paint on the roadway and use signage. I said if that was the case, why didn't he do that in November of 2023? He agreed with me. The continued explanation at the meetings that we didn't miss the points. We met the points that's not the only qualification. Other factors and our 81% approved this project, not a mistake. The lack of answers that I got at meetings led me to do a FOIA request. Level 2, where I saw the speed hump, it was drawn, the engineering markers were there, diagrams, everything.
Ms. Sennett,
I'm
unfortunately,
sorry.
your time is up.
You know, I sat through 9 hours of public meetings, so.
All right. And our next speaker will be Mr. Martin Sennett. And if you would just state your name and address for the record, Mr. Sennett.
Martin Sennett from 505 East Broadway. The NTMP handbook states that the resulting score, available funding, and other factors are used to determine which roadways will proceed to the next phase. If warranted, the community will be required to obtain a minimum of 2/3 community approval for the installation of such measures as speed humps. The handbook does not restrict approval to only projects that meet the points. Not meeting the points also doesn't move the project into the exceptions paragraph of the handbook. The exceptions section only applies when the aforementioned criteria of resulting score, available funding, and other factors are determined to be insufficient to proceed. If this wasn't the case, the handbook would be written completely differently. It would just say you need to meet the points, and if not, the exceptions listed. It does not, but that appears to be the approach taken in the discussions during the 26th August Commissioners' meeting. Inclusion of other factors in the criteria allows the NTMP committee to address limitations of the points worksheet. For example, the upper 15% of speeders are discounted on the points worksheet. However, in a high traffic volume situation like on the 500 block, nearly 3 times the recommended safety limit for residential streets, the last 15% of speeders presents a huge safety issue. In this case, 240 plus cars daily at speeds over 31 miles per hour. At those speeds, stopping distance are up to 50% longer, and the risk of severe injury or death triples if a driver hits a pedestrian, cyclist, or a child. As you approach the crest of the hill, in the middle of our block, your sight line is limited. This section of road runs east to west, additionally reducing visibility in the morning and in the evening. The approved speed hump near the top of the hill would reduce the risk presented by the large percentage of drivers exceeding the speed limit in this limited visibility section of the road. This is an example of the limitations of the points worksheet categories, which are ranked individually rather than when taking all factors into consideration. The documented dangers, speed and volume, the NTMP framework, the only guidance the town has relied on for 25 years, and the expertise of the town's department heads are why the town officials communicated in writing at least one speed hump would be installed, and why the town officials advanced this project meeting after meeting over 2 years. All right, I'm going to run out of time. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sennett. Our next speaker will be Janine Bittner.
Good evening. My name's Janine Bittner. I reside at 513 East Broadway. I am not in favor of the proposed speed bump for the following reasons: increased noise levels, pollution and higher energy consumption, adverse effects on emergency equipment, which could potentially reduce response times in life-threatening situations. Results from 2 separate studies did not meet the neighborhood traffic management requirements for level 2 speed bump. Scoring 32 points when 50 points are required. These findings recommend level 1 intervention. Vehicle speed remained within acceptable limits, 5 out of 20 points. Volume of traffic only scored 15 out of 25. The second study deemed excess volume was driven from school traffic. Non-local traffic scoring 5 out of 25 points. There are only 2 exceptions where the installation of level 2 measures could be installed when the road does not meet the criteria and it failed to meet the criteria for those exceptions. Throughout the various work meetings, commissioners agreed that the criteria for speed humps were not satisfied. The NTMP criteria were not met. Despite these findings, the town administrator promised a speed hump to Ms. Lowry and Ms. Sennett, fully aware that the NTMP data from both studies did not substantiate level 2 intervention. Decisions to approve traffic control measures lie with the Board of Town Commissioners as established by the town charter. He subsequently directed them to garner support from 2/3 of our neighbors. 66.7%, although the program clearly states that 75% community approval is required for installation. This requirement was not met as outlined in my previous correspondence to the commissioners. Residents who signed the petition were misled by an accompanying letter, which failed to disclose unmet criteria and incorrectly claimed that the NTMP deemed one hump vital. This statement is false. We are present this evening because of a promise. Despite the lack of authority to make such assurances, a promise was made without the required authority, and disregarding program criteria's results should not override established decision-making procedures. The commissioners did not make this promise and should not be obliged to abide by this promise. It was stated by the town administrator at work meetings he wanted to give the community what they wanted. Approving level 2 intervention clearly contradicts the NTMP Town of Bel Air Committee booklet, a document used for decades to guide community requests and implementation levels. This should not be treated as an isolated incident or prompt an exemption. Granting special considerations for this request would be inequitable, as other communities and blocks of Broadway would not receive similar accommodation. To conclude, I recommend adhering to level 1 interventions as deemed and ask each commissioner, why are we not implementing level 1 interventions when facts and results clearly call for that measure? Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Thank you, Ms. Bittner. And next, our speaker will be Anthony Blackburn.
Good evening. My name is Anthony Blackburn. I live at 500 East Broadway. The issue before you tonight is straightforward. The Neighborhood Traffic Management Program did exactly what it was created to do. On the 500 block of East Broadway, it measured cut-through traffic, documented high volume, vehicle volume, and recorded significant speeding. Based on that data, the NTMP concluded that this block clearly qualified for traffic calming measures, especially speed bumps. 81% of the residents of this block signed the petition supporting the installation. The town reviewed the findings, approved the project through the NTMP process, and budgeted as part of the July 2025 resurfacing plan. Everything about this project was done by the book. Yet when the crews arrived to begin work, the project was stopped in the field after one resident objected. Since then, misinformation has circulated suggesting that this project should be reconsidered. That decision, made outside proper procedure, not only undermines the NTMP process, but also raises serious questions about fairness, accountability, and public safety. From a legal standpoint, this situation creates real exposure for the town. Once Bel Air formally identified a speeding hazard, approved a solution, and allocated funding, it assumed a duty of care to act. If a serious accident were to occur on this block and speeding is found to be a factor, the town will not be able to claim ignorance. The record will show that Bel Air knew of the problem, approved a corrective measure, and then faulted it without a due cause or further study. That's the kind of record that creates liability, legal, financial, and moral. The pattern along East Broadway also makes the situation even more troubling. Harford County conducted its own studies along the same corridor and determined that the 600, 700, 800, and 900 blocks of East Broadway all qualified for traffic calming. Over a 0.6-mile stretch, the county installed 8 traffic calming devices, including 7 speed humps and 1 raised crosswalk, to slow traffic and protect pedestrians. The only block left unaddressed is the 500 block, and that's not because it didn't meet the measure, it's because it lies within the town of Bel Air's limits, outside of Harford County's jurisdiction. Every other block of East Broadway, from Moores Mill Road to North Shamrock Road, have been addressed except for ours. To leave this one section untreated not only creates inconsistency, it creates a clear safety gap that every driver will notice as soon as they enter town limits. The residents followed the process, staff conducted the studies, the town approved and funded the work. To reverse or delay now, after all, is neither responsible nor defensible. This is not about preference or politics. It's about following the law, protecting our families, and honoring the process that was designed to ensure fairness and safety. I urge you tonight, reinstate and complete the installation of the approved speed humps on the 500 block of East Broadway. Finish the project that was studied, approved, and funded. That is what's right for the residents, what's responsible for the town, and what's consistent with your own policies and the precedent set along with the rest of East Broadway. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Blackburn. I don't have anyone else that signed up in advance, but if there's anyone sitting here this evening in the audience that wishes to address the board, now is your opportunity. All right, I see no takers, so I think we are finished with the public input session, and now we are moving on to unfinished business, which is the decision on the proposed speed hump for the 500 block of East Broadway.
Madam Chair, I'll get us started by making a motion that we can debate, and those in favor of the motion can speak in favor, those opposed to it can speak against it. And so I will make the motion that the Bel Air Board of Town Commissioners direct the town administrator to resume the previously approved installation of a speed hump on the 500 block of East Broadway.
I second that motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Chance. All right, so the floor is open for debate on that motion.
I'll begin by saying, since I made the motion in defense of it, that every resident who spoke tonight, I think, made a compelling case. And oftentimes I felt as though the residents were really speaking past each other in terms of what the facts of the case really were. There were assertions made on both sides of this argument that contradicted the other. And I think that's because that in one light, the facts put forward by those in favor of the speed bump are true, and in the other light, the facts put forward by those against the speed bump are true. And the decision comes down to what we choose to emphasize and what we choose to take precedence when we make this decision. So I'll begin by saying that this problem, in my view, the root of this problem, in my view, comes down to the fact that the NTMP guidelines are not codified into law. They have no statutory effect, and there isn't really any one clear way to interpret them. That whole section about other criteria is nebulously vague, and I think largely that phrase is how we got here. It was within, in my view, the authority of the town administrator to bring this project to the board for approval and funding as he did, and it was certainly within our purview to fund and approve it as we did when we approved the paving project. I also believe that it was entirely a discretionary decision made on the part of the town administrator. The town administrator was not bound to make this decision by the NTMP. The NTMP was not bound to either give or take away this proposal, because the NTMP, as it exists currently, does not exist in the town code and is therefore purely really an advisory board. Now, it's good that we take advice from experts, but the way that the power structure is set up right now, there is no statutory authority to bind the town. And so here we are. The power now rests with the decision makers. The five of us, those who have the final say over what goes on the town's streets and roads, are going to make this decision. I'll briefly say that I don't think that we should ever find ourselves in the position of having to make this decision again, which is why I favor overhauling and codifying the NTMP guidelines so that this is taken squarely out of the political sphere and put back where it belongs. But that's just not where we are right now. And so the reason why I in favor of installing this speed bump comes down to one very simple thing. At no point in this process did the residents who asked for this speed bump act in bad faith. Along every point, along every piece of this journey, they acted in good faith. And I'm reminded actually of when I ran for the board, and there was a petition circulating regarding a piece of legislation that the town had passed regarding the upzoning of some properties on Broadway, when we had some town residents come in here with a petition that truthfully, were not given very clear direction, did everything that they felt was in the right manner to make it so that their petition for referendum would make it onto the ballot. And they were turned away by our predecessors with, I think, less than clear instruction. To me, this situation rings similar. I believe that the town has an obligation to be very clear and very direct and very cautious and careful with the communications that it makes with its residents. And that when we make a promise to our residents, we ought to be in the business of keeping that promise. And so I'm in favor of keeping that promise. I'm in favor of making good on this promise. And I'm also in favor of overhauling this process so that we never find ourselves in this situation again. So for that reason, I put forward this motion tonight to resume the installation of the previously approved speed hump. I don't know how this vote's going to go, but I would encourage my colleagues to think about the obligation that the town has, not because of any statutory axe hanging over our head. I don't think that that's the boat that we're in, but simply as elected officials to make good on the promises that government officials make to their constituents. So that's why I'm voting in favor of the speed hump, and it's why I've made the motion.
A couple things to comment on what you said, Commissioner Taylor, was that the difference between this and the petition for referendum is that in this case, the board did not make the promise. Okay, it was the staff and employee of the town, and if a town, and we, as you stated correctly, we are ultimately responsible for that any decision that is made by the staff or the town administrator. So, I mean, we did not make a promise in bad faith, and I don't think the town administrator made a promise in bad faith. I don't think there was any bad faith, intentionally put forward when that decision was made. But, right, we had a policy. Whether it's considered valid or not, I feel that it is, because we have many, many policies that the town goes by, and many of them have never been voted on. So if we don't have a policy, then we should not be taking any action on this until we do have a policy. So the fact that if we have a policy, if this policy is deemed valid, and we look at what was done, we look at that policy, we have a score of 32 out of 50 needed to get a level 2 mitigation measure, but there are 2 exceptions. And those exceptions are, 1, adjacent to an elementary school, which is not. And then you must meet all 3 of the second set of exceptions, which is a peak hour greater than 150. It does meet that. Non-local traffic greater than 50% does not meet that. And a minimum street length of 150 feet, it does meet that. It also states that you can consider other factors. Doesn't define what other factors are. But nowhere in the documentation were other factors mentioned. There was no mention of any other factors that were considered in giving a level 2 mitigation measure. Okay, so and in talking with some of the participants, they could not come up with any. So it didn't meet the other factors aspect of the measure. Okay, so basically the decision for level 2 should have never been made. It should have never reached that point of saying a level 2. Even if this policy does not exist or is not valid, it should have never reached. We should have never come up with that decision. And again, if we make a decision in error, whether it's an elected official or a town employee, a member of the government, they do not have the authority to overrule policy, code, charter, and Maryland state law. We have to correct it. If a decision was made that was counter to those principles, it is up to us. We are obliged to correct that mistake, whether it was intentional or not. Doesn't matter if it was intentional or not. So with that, I don't, I sympathize. We should have never gotten to this point. It's unfortunate that we got to this point. I apologize to everybody that we got to this point. But when we look at the policies, whether we have one or do not have one, I do not see how we can go forward with this, with this measure.
It is unfortunate that we are here this evening with so many upset residents. Communication, to say it was poor, would be a tremendous understatement. I could tell by the looks on the faces of the people in the audience at the first work session where we discussed this, that they had never been told that this project did not meet the criteria set out in the NTMP. The objective data that was gathered and evaluated by that work group did not meet the program's established criteria to justify a speed hump. Despite this, Mr. Hopkins made the decision to proceed with the installation in response to the request of some residents. Mr. Hopkins has acknowledged that in a phone conversation with me, reiterated it in an email that was sent to Ms. Sennett as part of her Public Information Act request. Additionally, in prior public meetings at Town Hall, which are live streamed and recorded, Mr. Hopkins and the other staff members confirmed that the decision to proceed with the installation was made despite the project not meeting the NTMP criteria. Mr. Hopkins stated his intention was to maintain community satisfaction, and while I certainly understand that, that is where this entire project took a wrong turn. The residents went forward thinking that that the speed hump was justified, that it met the criteria, they got the signatures that were necessary, and they fully expected, and reasonably so, to see a speed hump appear on Broadway. However, this decision was not Mr. Hopkins to make. It is the board's to make. We did not make any decision on the speed hump. The town administrator did. And he did that with no authority and knowing, in fact, that he had violated the principles of the Neighborhood Transportation Management Program. This is a real problem. Whenever government starts giving one thing to one group because they want it and not giving it to someone else, how do we differentiate? We need some sort of guidelines, we need some sort of framework within which to operate, because there are a number of other neighborhoods that right now want a speed hump. I know that Giles Street wants a speed hump, North Kelly Avenue wants a speed hump, the 300 block of Broadway wants a speed hump. So there are a number of other locations in town, and I want to be sure that we treat every neighborhood fairly. If one neighborhood qualifies for a speed hump, then another neighborhood that is similarly situated should also get one. We should not put one in at the 500 block of East Broadway just because Mr. Hopkins promised it. He cannot make that promise. That is, of course, assuming that we have a framework within which to work, and Commissioner Rutledge has made a very valid point that this book has never been adopted by the board. If we don't have a framework within which to work, we also should not approve this speed hump until we have one. We should only make decisions to put in speed humps and other traffic control devices based on traffic engineering principles, based on data that is objective, not the subjective ideas of anybody on the board or anybody that lives in town. We have a responsibility to all of our citizens to make sure that our streets and roads comply with all of the rules in the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices, on traffic engineering principles, and anything else that might apply to such a project. That is why I oppose the speed hump. I just do not see how we can put this in when all of the experts that everyone says we should listen to have all confirmed that this project did not meet the criteria set out in the Neighborhood Traffic Management Program.
I'd like to speak about this at this point. All of that is all well and good, Mayor. However, what's really important is safety. I drive that road occasionally, and I've driven it more recently than I had been, just to feel what you're feeling, to understand better. I totally 100% support that speed bump. I have visions of a child getting hit. I just can't get that out of my head. And regulations are one thing, but we're talking about safety here, real safety. And that road is wide, and it invites people to go faster than the speed limit. In other neighborhoods where the road is more narrow, you've got cars coming both directions, people do slow down. But that stretch is a straight shot that just encourages people to go faster. So I am 100% in favor of putting a speed bump in there.
Madam Chair, before I speak, I wanted to know whether any of the other commissioners would it be appropriate to anybody to counter anybody else's comments here, or everybody has said their piece?
You are welcome to say whatever, whether it's in response to anyone else's comments or
Well, I
just your
just
own,
wonder whether
absolutely.
there was any other feedback from the four of you here that I could take into account before I begin my deliberation.
I'll just say I think that Commissioners Chismar and Edding made very valid points about the empirical aspect of this project. We have a difference of agreement. Commissioner Chismar and I have a difference of opinion on what that and other factors means. I very well could see the community support being another factor that folks on this committee would take into account, and I think that folks on the committee certainly did take it into account based on what's in the record. But ultimately, I think that this comes down to us as elected officials making good on promises that town staff made in good faith to residents acting in good faith, and that's why I've made the choice that I made to support it. But as I said, I completely understand where my colleagues are coming from.
And I understand where our colleagues are coming from, too. I just want to say, Commissioner Taylor, that I do agree with you that we probably need to relook at this whole process, codify it in even more detail, but that's not going to happen anytime soon for this decision. But I do support that notion that we should relook at this whole process.
As do I.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, and thank you. I want to thank everybody for all of the emails and the information, the attachments to the emails that have been sent to the commissioners. I've read every word. I've taken it all to heart. I've looked at the different aspects that the town, and as I thought tonight, as we said the Pledge of Allegiance, we are a republic, which means we have a very serious duty as your elected officials and representatives to take your wishes into account. In the structure of our government here, we certainly have a unique form of government that many towns and cities do not have, and that is the fact that each one of us up here serves a dual role. We're not just Congress, we're not just the House of Representatives or the Senate. We don't just pass bills and ordinances and resolutions. We are also charged with ultimately the responsibility for the administration of the town. So there's no separate executive branch. Our town administrator and all of our, works for the commission. It's structured, it's laid out in our town charter, and we work very closely, have a great deal of respect for our town administrator because he is charged with the obligation and the responsibility to largely speak for the town within the authority that's granted to him. Our department heads work very hard, and it's been clear for the past 2 years since I've been a commissioner that we have very competent and great expertise in all of our directors in this town. That having been said, for me, the fundamental question from a procedural standpoint falls along these lines for me, that the regulation of the public roads is a particularly important responsibility that is vested in the commissioners. we, Commissioner Chesmar, to your point, that there are other town policies and standards, et cetera, that haven't been codified or adopted by the commission, but they're on subject matter that doesn't, in my view, relate to the public road, which is certainly to take into account the neighbors, the people that live along the public road, as well as the people that travel in and out of our town across these roads. So the road regulation, in my view, is a unique set of authorities that, that the commission has and that the commissioners here have. And as I had asked our clerk, Michael Krantz, that does a great job for us here in the town, to search into the archives and to see, was there ever a substantive discussion, approval, resolution, even just a resolution or approval. We're going to vote on some things tonight. We're going to vote on a deed to a property that should have been deeded to the town a long time ago for a pumping station for when some of the developments in town occurred. That is an important thing, and that's something that we're not going to, pass an ordinance on that. We approve these things as either resolutions or ordinances. The Supreme Court of Maryland got into that discussion in the case of the town of Bel Air that was up on the referendum and made things clear about when the town can have an ordinance or resolution, and to get into all the weeds on that. But the reality is here, this particular policy that is so powerful was not passed, even blessed as a resolution by any prior commission. And while it's true the issues never came up before, in my experience, that doesn't carry much weight for me, because that's precisely why the people are to consider in their voting, are you electing someone who stands not just for the, the moment or this flavor of ice cream of the day, whatever the issue is. You've also elected us to take our oath seriously, and we all do, and this debate and deliberation shows that, and to exercise our best judgment on it. For me, I do not feel bound by, and do not believe this commission is bound by, having to make a ruling based upon the criteria, of the neighborhood traffic management program. However, I think it certainly is relevant because it's how we got here and many people relied upon it. If I were to look at that criteria and I see the fact that there can be other factors other than just an objective scoring sheet, I am persuaded that the other factors argument takes away from what looked like a set of handcuffs on, well, if you didn't meet the criteria, you had to meet A or B on that checklist. And one of the gentlemen spoke tonight and had written an email on it, and I thought, well, that, when I look back on that, I'm persuaded that other factors, I believe, gave our, committee that looked at it a great deal of flexibility to apply their common sense. Years ago, when I used to try a lot of cases in front of juries, there's an old trick about, call two more witnesses, common sense and human nature is your last witnesses in the case. Well, common sense, I think, was applied by this committee. I think that our representatives on it, I've learned that to trust them, to trust their judgment. And so I can't just cast that aside. I think we have the power to approve this, and I think it does not set a precedent on how we're going to move forward in the future. The easy part of this tonight is to say, look, before any other traffic calming devices, et cetera, are passed, this commission should, get on the horse and ride and fast track getting a policy set and a procedure set, as Commissioner Taylor pointed out, to take these types of matters as much as possible away from the political arena of the elected officials, because we certainly don't vote on speed limits and things like that, and we're, far be it from us to have the expertise, maybe some do, I don't, on how to regulate those things, which clearly rely upon the chief of police and the engineering department and also the land use considerations all would go into that. And then when it comes down to affording whatever, our director of finance is going to weigh in and tell us not whether we can afford something. Which brings me to a point that I had inquired about early in one of my emails on July 8th or 9th. I inquired about was, when did we pass, the spending side of the speed hump? And clearly we passed the spending side of the speed hump. I raised that question because when the budget discussion was had on it, I did not recall discussing the speed hump as a cost component. However, that fact that I did not intentionally know that I was voting on that does not excuse me from the fact that maybe I should have asked more questions and read it more carefully. That's on me. That's not on Director Klein. That's not on anybody else to point out every little detail of a road bill. That's on me. If I read a contract and I sign it in my regular life and in my law practice, I am duty-bound charged to have read every word and to know every provision, whether I read it or not, because many of us, sign off on, all kinds of agreements every day with 3 pages of, boilerplate in it, and we don't read it. But if we were in court, the law would charge us to it. I was trained that way in the common law at the University of Maryland Law School, going on 40 years ago. And I still believe in that. And I'm going to accept responsibility myself for not reading those details. And the fact is, we funded it. We voted for it, and we funded it. I did not know the details on that in the 1st of July when this issue was brought to our attention, but I know it now. So this brings me to my conclusion that I think it's absolutely the right thing, the correct thing, the exercise of power that we have to exercise this power, whether one takes the view that the criteria exists and applies to us, or whether one takes the view that it doesn't exist. We still have the road power. We have the power to resolve this tonight. And for the reasons that were articulated by Commissioner Taylor, Commissioner Chance, I'm going to vote in favor of Commissioner Taylor's motion. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to deliberate on this.
Thank you, Commissioner Rutledge. Anything else that anyone else wants to say? All right. Just for the record, the contract that we were presented with didn't have any of the details other than the contractor's name and the amount of money that was going to be done. There was nothing in that contract that said anything about a speed hump. Mr. Krantz?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is for the vote on Commissioner Taylor's motion to approve the installation of the speed pump in the 500 block of East Broadway. Commissioner Rutledge?
Aye.
Commissioner Chismar?
Nay.
Commissioner Taylor?
Aye.
Commissioner Chance?
Aye.
And Chair Edding.
Nay.
The motion passes 3-2.
Next, under new business, we have ordinance 847-25 to amend Chapter 10, Boards, Commissions, and Committees, Article 2, Economic and Community Development Commission, Section 10-5, Membership, Terms of Office, Compensation, Officers, Meetings, Quorum. May I have a motion?
Yes, Madam Chair, I move that ordinance number 84725, amending the Code of the Town of Bel Air, Chapter 10, Article 2, Section 5, entitled Economic and Community Development Commission, Memberships, Term of Office, Compensation, Officers, Meetings, Quorum, be received by the Bel Air Board of Town Commissioners.
Thank you, Commissioner Taylor. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Chismar.
And on this, on this matter, I'm going to recommend that we receive it after we get the detailed summary of what it does from our Director of Economic Development, Angela Robertson.
Thank you, Commissioner Taylor. The Bel Air Economic and Community Development Commission, or ECDC, is a commission whose mission is to promote and support economic development in the town of Bel Air. The members of the commission have recommended updates to the code to change their quorum from 3 to a majority of members and to change their required number of meetings per year to 8 from 9. In addition, language regarding the terms of members appointed upon the establishment of the commission has been simplified. Members of ECDC, while developing their organization, parliamentary procedure, rules and regulation document for its members, recommended the following changes. Again, changing the quorum from 3 to a majority, the number of meetings per year to 8. The schedule reflects a 2-month hiatus in the summer, as most of our town commissions take in July and August. Counts the attendance at the Bel Air Annual Awards in October in lieu of a public meeting and a break for the December holiday. It also this ordinance would change the language regarding the terms of members upon the establishment of the commission to simplify it to indicate a staggering of initial terms. There was a lot of language currently existing in the code about the establishment of the commission, and it's a commission that has been an active commission for 50 years. Therefore, the staff recommends that proposed ordinance 847-25 be received by the Bel Air Board of Town Commissioners with a public hearing scheduled for October 20th.
Thank you, Director Robertson. Any questions?
Yes, Director Robertson, I know that we had discussed retaining the language about serving 3-year terms with initial appointments of 1, 2, and 3 years to reflect the fact that ECDC largely still does follow, and I believe to the best of my knowledge still does. I don't think there's anybody who's fallen out of cycle because we've accidentally started a new 3-year term when somebody resigned. As you mentioned, that hasn't happened in a very long time that we've had someone resign, so it would probably be pretty difficult to verify whether or not that has occurred. My question was that sentence. Do we really need that clause about with initial appointments of 1, 2, and 3 years? Is that also in the Seniors Citizen Committee language?
That is correct. When we were looking to make these changes, I did use a format that had been established by the Seniors and Citizens in Need Commission when changes were made earlier this year. I'm certainly happy to do whatever you'd like with that language. I think either way, as I mentioned, it is a commission that's already well established, so discussing initial appointments may not be necessary, but it is the same language that was used in the Seniors and Citizens in Need ordinance.
To echo Commissioner Rutledge's point made earlier, that's definitely on us. I'll say me in particular, because I try to nitpick for these things, that when we approved that piece of legislation for the Seniors and Citizens in Need Committee, I probably should have caught the fact that we really don't need to refer to initial appointments anymore in the language. It's not something that is particularly relevant one way or the other. I like to clean up artifacts when we can. And I lean in favor of cleaning up this particular artifact, but there's a little bit of heartburn over the fact that we've already, let it go forward with one other committee. So I'll shop that out to my colleagues about what they think the best way to move forward with that particular, 8-word section of the code is.
And excuse my interruption, Mr. Krantz, am I correct that that is the same language?
I am looking it up right now. I honestly don't recall off the top of my head.
You have me questioning whether whether that's correct.
I try to memorize these things verbatim, but
it's too much.
It's too much in this case. Give me a moment. I'll comment in a second.
And Commissioner Terrell, I think that'd be a good idea, but I don't think we need to go back and do the other commissions. It's just something we'll put on the books when we do amend something in one of the commission's codes or whatever, charters, then we can just take those out.
That works for me.
Is that?
It does say members shall serve staggered 3-year terms with initial appointments of 1, 2, and 3 years.
My feeling about it is it's a moot point.
Sure.
And what it does at least do, Commissioner Taylor, is it gives some historic reflection on how the staggered term started in the first place. It's inartful that way, but it does function that way. We get to see that's how it all started. So, I mean, I would be fine with just passing the ordinance the way it is tonight without, amending it. But does that make sense? I mean, I'm
No,
all for
yeah.
cleaning up stuff, but.
It's one of those things that
just-
I wouldn't expect anyone to have particularly strong views on it because it is a moot point, which kind of makes making a decision a little bit more difficult because I think we could all probably go either way on it. Yeah, I certainly see what you're saying. My what's the word I'm looking for here? Instinct is to remove it. But what do you think, Mayor Redding?
I'm good with just leaving it in as a historical artifact from way
Okay.
back when.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Commissioner Chance?
Yeah.
Yes.
And it would also explain why people have ending periods in different years.
It
Right.
does.
I could also add in the very, 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 very unlikely scenario that everyone resigned or the committee, suddenly was without members or was potentially not inactive for a year or two and we had to start it back up, that reference would apply.
Well, I'm persuaded by my colleagues and by Mr. Krantz, we can just leave it in.
Yeah, I'm good either way.
All right, any further discussion by the board?
Not by me.
Nope.
And is there any member of the public that wishes to comment on this ordinance only? All right, in that case, Mr. Krantz?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is for the receipt of ordinance 847-25. Commissioner Rutledge,
Aye.
Commissioner Chismar,
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor,
Aye.
Commissioner Chance.
Aye.
And Chair Edding.
Aye.
The ordinance is received and a public hearing is scheduled for October 20th. Thank you.
All right, next is ordinance 848-25, amending the Town of Bel Air, Maryland's Code, Chapter 246, Historic Preservation, Section 246-6D, Certificate of Approval, and Chapter 50, Finance and Taxation, Article 1, Financial Matters, Section 50-4, Tax Credits for Historic Restoration and Preservation. May I have a motion?
Yes, Madam Chair, I move that ordinance number 848-25, amending Town of Bel Air Code, Chapter 50, Finance and Taxation, and Chapter 246, Historic Preservation, be received by the Bel Air Board of Town Commissioners.
Thank you, Commissioner Rutledge. Do I have a second?
Second?
Thank you, Commissioner Chance.
We've talked about this at length at work sessions, but Commissioner Rutledge, I want to thank you and the Historic Preservation Committee for putting a lot of good work into this. I know that this is something that has been baking in that committee for quite some time. I'm glad that the cake is almost done. I think that the residents will really enjoy it and that it will be a benefit to the entirety of the town. I actually, as a matter of fact, was just speaking over the weekend with somebody who is involved with preserving historic buildings in the town of Bel Air, and he was elated that this would encourage further preservation. So I think you will definitely get some takers. As the data presented by the Finance Department shows, even if we had 100% participation rate, it would nowhere near blow a hole in our budget. So we should be so lucky to get 100% participation because I think that can only be good for the town. I'll just wax poetic a little bit. As the face of the town changes and as the skyline of the town changes, I think it's really wonderful to hold as fast and as hard as we can to those pieces of our history that remain and to restore those pieces of our history that can still be restored. That actually would serve Bel Air well to set us apart from so many other towns with provenances that trace back to the 19th and even before centuries, but which have largely lost any visual reminder, at least, any visual reminder of that history that once was. And so I think this is a great way to use a carrot and not a stick, so to speak, to ensure that Bel Air continues to enjoy and recognize and reward those who go that extra mile in preserving our history, and hopefully that this will keep some of those buildings solvent and economically feasible to preserve them for decades, if not centuries to come.
and to chime in on that, Commissioner Taylor and I were at the Municipal Citizens Academy, and one of the students in the class, actually, I forget how this piece of legislation came up, something that was pending, I think, was very happy to hear that it was coming because she needs new windows, and they're very expensive to have something that's historically accurate. So she is thrilled, and I think we will see a lot of people that will, take advantage of this to make those kind of changes to their homes, which are very expensive, particularly when you're trying to maintain historically accurate.
I had the opportunity, to serve as liaison on this commission, and as at our work session, we had the chair, Jeff Campbell, come and speak in favor of it, and he's worked the committee. They all pitched in back and forth, very collaborative process to listen to them deliberate on it and how they all came to this conclusion in support of this legislation. So I wanted to, again, publicly thank those volunteers that serve on the Historic Preservation Commission here in Bel Air, and for Chair Campbell and his support for this bill and coming out the other evening as well. So, yeah, I think it's a good statement, a good opportunity, great public policy to continue to do this, and really coming on the on the other end of our 150th anniversary celebration. I think it's very appropriate to pass this piece of legislation.
All right.
Yeah, I think this is a good piece. I mean, this is a win-win for the citizens, the homeowners, and for the town. So much of our history has been lost as the face of the town changes, and giving the incentive to keep what little is left intact and to bring it back to its glory days, I think it's a good effort. So I fully support this bill.
All right. Anything further? All right, Mr. Krantz? Oh, public comment. Is there any member of the public here this evening that wishes to make a public comment on this ordinance? All right. In that case, we're ready for the vote. Mr. Krantz.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is for the vote on ordinance number 848-25, its receipt. Commissioner Rutledge?
Aye.
Commissioner Chismar?
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor?
Aye.
Commissioner Chance?
Aye.
And Chair Edding.
Aye.
Ordinance is received with a public hearing also scheduled for the 20th. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 849-25, acceptance by the board of the deed to the North Shamrock Road Sewer Pumping Station. May I have a motion?
Yes, Madam Chair. I move that the Board of Town Commissioners introduce ordinance number 84925, providing for the acceptance of a grant in fee simple of the property designated as the fee simple lot for the Town of Bel Air Pumping Station, as depicted on the amended final Plat 1, Section 4, Harford Woods, recorded in Plat Book number 39, Folio 43, among the Harford County Land Records, and further schedules a public hearing on the ordinance for October 20th, 2025, with adoption of the ordinance to occur immediately. A vote on adoption of the ordinance to occur immediately thereafter.
Thank you, Commissioner Taylor. Do I have a second?
Yes, I'll second. Okay.
All right.
Whatever.
I didn't want to bind us to adopt something before we'd actually voted on it, so I thought that was important to sneak that in the motion.
All right. Who is presenting on this? I know we've heard a lot previously about it, but maybe the Reader's Digest version.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Chair. The Town of Bel Air has operated a sanitary sewer pumping station on this parcel for nearly 50 years. During a recent boundary study, it was discovered that the property had never been formally deeded to the town. To resolve this issue and avoid further uncertainty regarding ownership of the land on which the pumping station is located, the town contacted the estate of the previous owners and requested that the parcel be formally conveyed to the town. The Bel Air Town Charter, Article 4, Section 40140, Section A, authorizes the Board of Town Commissioners to acquire real property by purchase, gift, device, or condemnation for public purposes. The town attorney has advised that under the Charter and Maryland municipal law, the acceptance of real property must be approved by ordinance rather than by resolution to create a permanent legislative record of ownership. Acceptance of this property ensures that the town formally assumes jurisdiction, ownership, and responsibility for the land, supporting a critical public utility. This conveyance is a no-cost transfer of ownership to the town. It formalizes the town's legal title to the lot already occupied by the pumping station and eliminates any ambiguity in the land records. Adoption of an ordinance provides the necessary legislative authority and documentation for recordation with Harford County Land Records. A public hearing is required to adopt the ordinance. Staff recommends scheduling the hearing for October the 20th, 2025, with adoption to occur on that same date following public comment. The staff recommends that the Board of Town Commissioners introduce ordinance number 849-25 at the meeting scheduled, at this meeting, scheduled the public hearing for October 20th, 2025, and adopt the ordinance at that meeting to formally accept the grant in fee simple of the parcel designated as the fee simple lot for Town of Bel Air Pumping Station as depicted on amended Final Plat 1, Section 4, Harford Woods, recorded in Plat Book Number 39, Folio 43, Harford County Land Records.
Thank you, Mr. Klein. Any
Thank
questions
you.
for Mr. Klein? No. And is there any member of the public here that wishes to comment on this ordinance? All right, in that case, Mr. Krantz, we're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For receipt of ordinance 849-25, Commissioner Rutledge.
Aye.
Commissioner Chismar.
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor.
Aye.
Commissioner Chance.
Aye.
And Chair Edding.
Aye.
The ordinance is received, and a public hearing shall be scheduled for the 20th. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is the Tough Book laptops purchase. May I have a motion?
Yes, Madam Chair. I move that the proposal from SHI International Corporation for 10 Panasonic Toughbook computers, protection plans, and docking stations in the combined amount of $37,336.10 be approved by the Board of Town Commissioners.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Chance. Mr. Krantz.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A little bit of background on the request for this purchase. The town's technology department follows a proactive approach to maintaining and upgrading its computing infrastructure by routinely replacing and upgrading computers as they approach the end of their serviceable life. The cycle of replacement generally occurs every 5 years, ensuring that the technology used by town staff remains up to date, fully functional. The average age of the current police department Toughbooks computers that we have now is just about that, 5 years old. One key reason for adhering to this 5-year replacement schedule is to ensure that all computers and laptops remain under warranty. Keeping equipment under warranty period is crucial as it prevents unwanted scenarios where replacement parts are unavailable or costly, which could lead to prolonged downtime or inefficiencies. By staying within warranty, the town ensures any necessary replacements or repairs can be handled swiftly without additional burden. In this particular instance, the current police Toughbook computer warranty has expired, and the Microsoft Windows 10 support will also end here momentarily on October 14th, 2025. By adhering to the schedule of replacing these computers, the technology department ensures town staff are equipped with reliable, fast, and efficient computers, which are essential for the seamless execution of their day-to-day tasks. Procurement of these products and services is achieved by piggybacking on another competitively bid contract as follows, with the City of Mesa Department of Procurement issued their RFP 2024056 on November 16th, 2023, established a national cooperative contract for information technology solutions, products, and services in partnership with Omnia, OMNIA partners, a private sector. And they successfully negotiated a contract with SHI. The initial 4-year agreement is from July 2nd, 2024 through July 1st, 2028, so its contract is still valid. SHI International was the lowest of 3 price quotes received and is under the FY26 amount budgeted. The combined pricing proposed from SHI Incorporated for these products and services is $37,336.10. So staff does recommend the purchase of these Toughbook computers and docking stations and the protection plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Krantz. Any questions for Mr. Krantz?
Not a question, just to say that I did a little bit of quick mental math, so it could be wrong, but if my quick mental math is right, it looks like piggybacking on the Mesa bid saves us about $15,000, $15,000, somewhere in that ballpark. So I just want to thank, as always, our staff for finding the best deal in town, for the town. I really appreciate it. The fiscal discipline that we always show is greatly appreciated, both by us and by the taxpayers that we represent.
All right. Any further questions, statements, comments?
So are all 10 of these going to be, are any of those set aside as spares?
No, sir.
No?
We will, I'd have to double check with our technology manager,
Okay.
but my impression is he doesn't destroy the old equipment immediately. We will keep one or two on hand just in case. But
Okay.
these tough books are destined to be installed in the police vehicles,
Right.
hence the need for the docking stations, which was interesting the way they upgrade their laptops and change the docking configuration to require the purchase of new docking stations as well, too.
Okay.
A mild frustration, but unfortunately a necessary one
necessary.
nevertheless.
The reason why I asked that was I was wondering how, because I wanted to know that, between that and what's the response time on the protection plan, the repair, the maintenance? Is it 1-day turnaround, 5-day?
These
that
are
means you'll be
operating
down
at the
a
moment
computer.
outside of the warranty. So Josh, Mr. Forth, our technology manager, is confident that he could make any repairs if necessary on his own. Outside of that would just cost us a little bit more money. In the meantime, we did identify that these particular laptops are available and in stock, so we would hope to make the purchase and installation right away.
But if we have a warranty, we wouldn't be repairing them ourselves, would we? We asked for a 5-year protection plus,
I guess it depends upon the severity of the problem. If it's
'Cause I was just-
unfixable, then I
right?
believe we would mail it away. Sometimes Josh saves us money by repairing things himself. It just depends upon the severity of
Right.
the problem.
Because if we need new docking stations, the old computers won't fit into the new docking station. So even if we keep a couple of the old ones, we can't install them in the cars. I just want to make sure that if you have one fail, how long are you going to be down? I was just wondering what the response time is for the repair of an item on this contract.
I'd have to check on that and get back to you. I just don't
Okay.
have that information at this moment.
All right.
Commissioner Chismar, if I can add to that, we get no complaints from the officers on the street about the mechanical adequacy or any other issues with their mobile data computers, so, you know, if
No, I'm
that
just
if that
wondering,
helps you out, yeah.
Just
Mhm.
parts fail.
Yeah, oh, yeah. they
Computers
do.
fail.
Yep.
And how long does it take to get it repaired and
Yeah.
back to you, to your officer in the car?
And trust me,
Otherwise,
if-
you're down
yeah,
one.
Right. If there was a problem, they would be jumping up and down, so everything seems to be working quite well.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Thanks for keeping an eye on it, yep.
All right. Any further questions for Mr. Krantz? And is there any member of the public here that wishes to make a comment on this purchase? All right. Mr. Krantz, we're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just jotting down Commissioner Chismar's question. I will find out that information, get it to you as soon as possible.
Okay.
This is for the vote on the purchase of the Panasonic Tough Books. Commissioner Rutledge,
Aye.
Commissioner Chismar,
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor,
Aye.
Commissioner Chance,
Aye.
and Chair Edding.
Aye.
The purchase is approved. Thank you.
All right. Next, we have the reappointment to the Board of Appeals of Mr. Richard Garrity. May I have a motion?
Yes, Madam Chair. I move that the reappointment of Richard Garrity to the Bel Air Board of Appeals for a term of 3 years, effective immediately, be approved by the Bel Air Board of Town Commissioners.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Rutledge. Anyone care to make any comments?
Yes, I think, in my experience over the last 2 years with that committee, Mr. Garrity is very experienced, very knowledgeable about the laws and the processes afforded with the Board of Appeals, and I highly recommend him for a reappointment.
All right. Thank you. Anything else? In that case, we're ready, Mr. Krantz. Oh, I did have, anyone wish to publicly comment on the reappointment of Richard Garrity to the Board of Appeals? All right, now we're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the appointment of Richard Garrity to the Bel Air Board of Appeals, Commissioner Rutledge.
Aye.
Commissioner Chismar.
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor.
Aye.
Commissioner Chance.
Aye.
And Chair Edding.
Aye.
He is reappointed. Thank you.
All right, next we have the appointment to the Committee for Seniors and Citizens in Need of Mr. Michael Santome. May I have a motion?
Yes, Madam Chair, I'd like to make the motion that, that Michael Santone be, be part of the committee of the Senior and Citizens in Need Committee, and of a term for 3 years, effective immediately, be approved by the Bel Air Town of Commissioners.
Thank you, Commissioner Chance. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Chismar. Commissioner Chance, any words you'd like to say about Mr. Santome?
Yes, I would like to say some things about him. He has attended a number of our meetings. He attended an event at the McFall Center that was promoting more resources for seniors and citizens in need. He's devoted to his work. He works at Upper Chesapeake Health, and he is definitely an asset to that community.
Definitely sounds like a very worthy addition to the committee.
Yes.
All right, anything further? Is there anyone here that wishes to make a public comment on the appointment of Mr. Michael Santome to the committee? All right, we're ready, Mr. Krantz.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is for the vote on appointment of Michael Santone to the Bel Air Committee for Seniors and Citizens in Need. Commissioner Rutledge.
Aye.
Commissioner Chismar.
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor.
Aye.
Commissioner Chance.
Aye.
And Chair Edding.
Aye.
Welcome, Mr. Santone. Thank you.
All right. Next is the appointment to the Tree Committee of Gregory O'Hare. I move that the appointment of Gregory O'Hare to the Bel Air Tree Committee for a term of 3 years, effective immediately, be approved by the Bel Air Board of Town Commissioners. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Rutledge. All right, Mr. O'Hare has actually attended a couple of meetings of the Tree Committee. He is very well credentialed. He is an environmental scientist and arborist. He has a BS in forestry. He serves on the Harford County Forestry Board. He is interested in backpacking and hiking and wants to use his professional expertise as an arborist and forester to assist with the implementation of the town's tree plan and to educate community members about urban forestry practices. He has impressed me as a very valuable member of the board, even before he's been on it, because he has attended a couple of meetings. He's really a plus. We're very lucky. All right. Is there any member of the public here who wishes to make a comment on the appointment to the Tree Committee of Gregory O'Hare? All right, there being none. Any further discussion of Mr. O'Hare's appointment? All right,
Yeah.
Mr. Krantz?
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the appointment of Gregory O'Hare to the Bel Air Tree Committee, Commissioner Rutledge.
Aye.
Commissioner Chismar.
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor.
Aye.
Commissioner Chance.
Aye.
And Chair Edding.
Aye.
Welcome, Mr. O'Hare. Thank you.
Public announcements. A living history performance featuring Colleen Webster portraying English novelist Jane Austen, scheduled for Tuesday, October 7th in the Bel Air Armory, has been sold out. Thank you to the Bel Air Cultural Arts Commission for bringing forth great community programming such as this, and we hope everyone enjoys the show. The Town of Bel Air's 2025 municipal election will be held on Tuesday, November the 4th. 2 seats on the Board of Town Commissioners are up for election. Anyone who wants to cast a ballot on Election Day must be a resident of the Town of Bel Air and registered to vote in Maryland. People who want to register to vote or check on the status of their registration can contact the Harford County Board of Elections at 410-638-3565 or visit harfordvotes.gov. The deadline to register to vote is 5 p.m. on Tuesday, October 14th. The League of Women Voters of Harford County will host a candidate forum at 6:30 p.m. on Thursday, October 9th in Town Hall. There will be an opportunity for voters to hear from the 3 candidates who have filed to run in this year's municipal election. The Maryland State Barbecue Bash, hosted by the Bel Air Downtown Alliance, will be Friday, October 10th and Saturday, October 11th in the Mary Ristow Building parking lot at 2 South Bond. Hours are 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. on Friday and noon to 10 p.m. on Saturday. Barbecue cook teams will be competing in the Maryland State Barbecue Championship for cash prizes and a spot in global barbecue competitions in Lynchburg, Tennessee and Kansas City. Plus, amateur teams will compete in the Maryland State Barbecue Bash Tailgate Challenge. In addition to the competitions, visitors can enjoy food vendors, beer gardens, live music, and entertainment for adults and children. Admission is free. Visit the Maryland State Barbecue Bash page on the Downtown Alliance's website or follow the Alliance on social media for more information. The 5th Annual Bel Air National Chess Day Tournament will be Saturday, October the 11th in the Bel Air Armory. The tournament is open to players of all ages and skill levels. There will be a U.S. Chess Federation rated tournament in which players compete for cash prizes and a second casual section tournament. The top finisher in the casual tournament will win a U.S. Chess membership. The entry fee for the U.S. Chess rated tournament is $45 for advanced registration and $50 the day of the tournament. The entry fee for the casual tournament is $10. Chess Day is hosted by the Emerton Rec Council Chess Club. Visit the chess page at emertonrec.com to register. Anyone who has questions can send an email to rfechess, that's rfechess @yahoo.com. The Bel Air Market, hosted by the Downtown Alliance, will be Saturday, October the 19th. The open-air market runs from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. in the parking lot at 121 South Main Street next to Das Beer Hall. Whoop. It will be Sunday, October 19th. Sorry about that. The Tree Committee will meet at 4:30 p.m. on Wednesday, October 8th in the Bel Air Planning Department offices at 705 East Churchville Road. The Appearance and Beautification Committee will meet at 7 p.m. on Monday, October 13th in Town Hall. The Cultural Arts Commission will meet at 4 p.m. on Wednesday, October 15th in the Bel Air Armory Conference Room. The Board of Town Commissioners will hold a work session at 5:15 p.m. on Tuesday, October 14th in Town Hall, and the next Town Hall meeting will be at 7 p.m. on Monday, October 20th, also in Town Hall. So with that very long list, did I miss anything? Yes, sir.
Thank you. David Anderson, I'm the Media and Public Relations Specialist for the town. And just a last minute addition, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And if you've been on Main Street recently, you've probably seen the pink banners with the theme Paint the Town Pink. The banners were hung by our DPW staff last week, and they're all along pretty much every light pole along Main Street. And basically the Paint the Town Pink campaign, this is the Chesapeake Cancer Alliance and the University of Maryland Upper Chesapeake Health Foundation. This is a way for them to raise awareness of breast cancer and to promote the Cancer Life Net program at the University of Maryland Upper Chesapeake Medical Center here in Bel Air. And that program, Cancer Life Net, is to support patients and their families as they go through cancer treatment. And just last thing, you know, our town has worked with Upper Chesapeake Health for a number of years to promote Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Their DPW has been working with them for a number of years to hang those banners and help promote breast cancer awareness. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. Anything else that we missed? We've now reached the period of the meeting where we will entertain public comment on anything, whether it was on the agenda this evening or not. Is there anyone here that wishes to make a public comment at this time? Yes, sir. You'd step to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Cecil Justice. I've never been to one of these meetings before. I'm here today because of the one on 500 block. But I just want you to know I sit and watch the whole thing just to see what the hell was going on in the neighborhood, to put it bluntly, okay? I've seen so much. I come from out of state, but I've been here all my life, okay? But my sisters come in, and they talk about our beautiful neighborhood. One lives in South Carolina, one lives in Georgia. And they talk about the stuff over there that's been done near that park over there. When you talk about the safety bumps or the speed bumps, whatever you want to call them here, I hope you take into mind what this young man was talking about looking into what needs to be done as far as adhering them one way or the other. Because I can't believe that they would stop after coming up Broadway, 6 of them, from the one way, and not have a stop sign, but all of a sudden stop 6 of them. And you come into the town limits. And the 400 blocks wanting them also, 300 blocks wanting them also. I understand what you're saying about there's nothing in the school area, but it just happens to be a Catholic church over there that has a school, okay? And also the town school over there also, and a library, which we've done a magnificent job of opening up and straightening out that park and all that. It does have a small one there, and we have a little one there at the library, also a speed bump. And I appreciate so much the way you looked at it, sir, as far as looking at it from a common sense thing. I didn't have a dog in the hunt as far as the way I look at it, and I know of, there's 5 small children that live on that 500 block right now, okay? When I first moved there, okay, there wasn't hardly any. But then when I retired 10 years ago, I walked 2 back and forth to school for 3 years over here, just so they would get back and forth because their mothers and fathers worked, okay? So I just want you to know I appreciate what y'all go through and everything. I was just looking at it from a private citizen's point of view, all the different things that y'all look at and do. Okay, I'd never been to one of these. Come in here all the time, pay my sewer bill, but I never figured what the devil they do here, okay? I see all the chairs and all. Well, I just wanted you to know, I appreciate it, okay? And my wife be wondering what took me so long to get home, but that's all right, okay?
Okay.
Y'all take care, have a nice evening.
Well,
Thank you, you too.
great. Well, we appreciate your comments, we appreciate you coming out. Come to more meetings. We'd like to have your input, because that's what it's all about.
All right. Commissioners' comments.
Go ahead.
I have 2 items I wanted to bring up for the public's consideration. The first is a commendation to the Bel Air Police Department for a wonderfully attended, record-breaking attended even, Coffee with a Cop event last Wednesday at Newberry Bakery. We thank all the small businesses that partner with local law enforcement, but especially Newberry for being the continued annual host of that event. I think you ran out of just about everything except for the drawstring bags, which I don't think was on you because it's kind of hard to, sell a drawstring bag to people, because don't we all have a million of them, right? But you gave away all the other merch, and we had lots of young kids come in and out there. We had lots of members of the community come in and out there. So very well done. You continue to do a great job both at your job of policing, but also that other important job of community policing. You do both very well.
Thank you, sir. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. The other item that I wanted to bring up was the beautiful, I'll call it a rehabilitation of the Office Street line of buildings that has been really brought back to life and is now the home of the licensing department for the clerk's office. It's a beautiful place to celebrate love and marriage in the heart of Bel Air. Hopefully you don't have to go across the street for the other end of that equation. You can just stay right there for that beautifully restored and rejuvenated historic buildings that have been standing in varying capacities from between 1929 and 1939, I believe it was, when that row of buildings was erected. And so, Commissioner Rutledge, to your point earlier, when we talk about really wanting to preserve those pieces of Bel Air history, that's a great example of it. Hopefully there's a way that those buildings can take advantage of this legislation. We'll see how that all shakes out, but if nothing else, to encourage future investments like that in the town, I think it's a wonderful thing, and it was a wonderful evening celebrating the new home of that arms of the clerk's office.
I would like to just speak briefly about the Greater Bel Air Community Foundation, of which I am a member, and I'm proud to be that. Today we held our annual golf tournament, of which we raise money that we then take our profits and turn them back over into the community. A couple of examples of that is what we've been able to help Rockfield with their new addition. We helped with the tree that was planted in Shamrock Park and decorated at Christmas time. We also have been able to support Winter Wonderland, which I think is just a remarkable, wonderful thing at Christmas time for our community. And we have just voted to also donate funds for the Alisand Playground. You can tell that I am very supportive of that organization and love it, because these people work hard, and we worked hard today. But it was a beautiful day, and we had a fabulous turnout, and we are proud of what that group does and what we do in turn, then give that money right back into the community. So I just wanted to give them a big shout out.
Well, certainly the Greater Bel Air, the Community Foundation does a lot of good works in the town of Bel Air, and we really appreciate them. We couldn't really do anywhere near as much as we do without organizations like them and without all the volunteers that we have that sit on all of our committees. One of the groups that does a lot of volunteering in town is the Bel Air Lions Club, and I know this weekend it was the Children's Safety Fair with the Bel Air PD jointly with the Bel Air Lions Club. Our kids could get, both their ID and their eyes checked, and there was a critter zoo and a bounce house, and they all looked like they were having a great time. And then getting a free cone of ice outside was probably the icing on the cake for them. So that was a great event. Coffee with a Cop was great. I think you need to thank your social media coordinators who are doing a great job. The mugshot was hysterical. I especially liked the little kids holding their little coffee mugs and standing with, the police officers to get their picture taken. It was a lot of fun, and I think that really made it even better this year. So it was a great time. And then, of course, on Saturday, not only did we have the Children's Safety Fair, but we had the Bel Air Volunteer Fire Company's open house, where I got to see kids with a fire hose, not at full strength, though. And they were knocking down flames, or wooden flames that you could spray the fire hose at, and they would fall over. So they were having a great time. And there was an antique fire truck you could also sit in and get your picture taken. So it was a great time. They all looked like they were having a lot of fun. My personal favorite was watching the guys break the windows out of the car before they used the Jaws of Life on it. I now want to go break windows in something, so maybe next year they'll let me break a couple windows in the car before they completely disassemble it with the Jaws of Life, which are now very quiet because they're all battery operated. So you'd be surprised how little is holding your car together.
I just wanted to, last week we had a planning commission meeting. Just give you an update on 2 projects that came through there. One of them was the an extension for the Wellwood Assisted Living. So they were asking for a 1-year extension because they were having issues with getting state highway approvals and Maryland American Water approvals and whatever. So they were asked for an extension, which actually should go through October of 26, but because of the variance, that was approved in July, and they asked for a 1-year extension on that. They have to really start construction by around June, July of 26. The other thing was Taco Bell on Baltimore Pike. Taco Bell came in they were already approved for a redesign, and they came back in and they said they want to tear it down and build it new. They have a California design, as they kept saying, which is pretty dark. It's a little black and black brick and black siding type of thing, but they were laughing about it. The local manager, the Northeast manager here, was saying, yeah, that's not going to fly with this community over here, on the East Coast, because this is a California thing. But they did go ahead and basically approve a lot of the other aspects, which is like the drive-through and the outdoor dining, the site plan, the landscape plan. But they didn't go with the shopping, the special exception for the shopping center, which includes the architecture. So he knows he's got to go back, but they wanted to get as much as they could approved to show that the town is on board, so he can go back to the California architects and get some relief from the design. So anyway, that's where we stand with that. And they haven't come back yet, Kevin, is that correct? So we don't know if they'll be on next month's planning commission or not.
Yeah, it's doubtful they'll be up from next month. Probably be December.
Probably be December, yeah.
I remember them coming in with something that was purple on the side that was facing US Route 1, and that also got a no.
Yeah, they still have that on there.
They still have it.
Yeah.
But there's more. At least the other parts of it
I
were
remember
okay.
them saying, well, this is the corporate thing, and I believe Mr. Robb said, well, not here. So
Yeah, this is the new corporate thing.
this is the new corporate thing. All right.
I want to wish Director Small all the luck in the world with his barbecue. Little Bird told me you were competing this weekend. That's amazing.
That's right, huh? I did not know that.
On Friday, yeah, we'll be cooking away.
All right. Way
And
to
when's
go,
the judging?
Kevin.
Friday night at 6 p.m.
Friday at 6. Wow, it's early.
Good for you.
So you could turn professional after this.
I've
Second
tried
career?
many times, and I just haven't been able to get there. So, hopefully.
Well, great.
All right. Any other commissioners wish to make a comment? No? In that case, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
And do I have a second?
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. We are adjourned.